Be reviewing IRS Form 8978, Partners Additional Reporting Year Tax. This form must be filed by every partner except for pass-through partners if they receive a Form 8986 from a pass-through entity. This is to report any additional reporting year tax as a result of taking into account partner share of adjustments that might have been pushed out to them. If this is affecting your tax situation, then you must file this tax form with your income tax return for the reporting year. So there are a couple of things that are important to note. This form does contain a lot of detail in the form instructions that you can access outside of this video. But we'll start with part one, which is the computation of the additional reporting year tax. So in most of these lines, like line 1A, you'll enter the total income amount as shown on your original or amended tax return. You'll see 4 columns because you can do this for up to 4 different tax periods. You'll enter negative amounts in parentheses. Line 1B, you'll enter adjustments to income from Schedule A, and we'll go over Schedule A once we go through the rest of this form. Line 2 contains corrected income, which is the total of lines 1A and 1B. In line 3A, you'll include the total deductions on your original tax return or your original amended return, or if the IRS came back and did any adjustments. And then in line 3B, you'll enter any adjustments from Schedule A. So when you combine these two deductions, you'll put the total of lines 3A and 3B into line 4. And then when you subtract line 4 from line 2, you'll come to the corrected taxable income. Now the form instructions include a line item for line 6, which is the income tax. You'll need to include a separate statement showing how the corrected income tax was figured and enter that corrected income tax on line 6. And for that, you'll probably need to see the instructions for Form 1040 or the instructions for your income tax return for that year. Under line 7, if alternative minimum tax is applicable, then you'll include a separate statement showing how the corrected AMT was calculated. And this includes any adjustments that you calculate on Schedule A. So for line 8, you'll add 6 and 7 together to come to the total corrected income tax. Line 9A is the total credits on your original tax return. Line 9B, you'll enter any adjustments to credits from Schedule A. Line 6, and you'll add these together to come to the corrected credits on line 10. On line 11, you'll subtract line 10 from line 8 to arrive at your total corrected income tax liability. Line 12 will be your original income tax as shown on your return. Line 13, you'll subtract line 12 from line 11 across each column, and this represents the amount of increase or decrease to your tax liability for the year. On line 14, you'll add all 4 columns, A through D, as applicable. You'll enter that number on line 14 and then on the appropriate line of your income tax return. Part 2 is the penalties on any unpaid taxes. And to do this, you'll need to complete Form 8986, Part 5, which contains the penalties, if any, that apply and which line items are affected. And then penalties for each applicable tax year should be reported on the respective column in line 15. For line 16, you'll add columns A through D, and you'll arrive at one penalty. And then part 3 contains the interest. So you'll calculate the interest on any increase in your income tax for each tax year that the increase in tax is attributable. Interest is computed at an interest rate as determined by the Internal Revenue Code. For that, you should probably refer to the form instructions that can help you determine how the interest should be calculated. A couple of notes in the instructions. 1, the interest should not be calculated on any decreases in tax on line 13 for a given tax year. And number 2, interest on penalties as applicable is calculated in the same manner as the interest on tax, except the interest on penalties is calculated from the due date of the partner's return plus any valid extensions. So we're going to move to Schedule A, and you can see these are income numbers at the very top of the form, and you can enter adjustments. You'll enter the description of the item that corresponds to either your K1 or your K3 as reflected in the appropriate title. So as an example, if Form 8986 Part 5, Column A shows 1 and Column B shows ordinary business income, then you'll enter on Schedule A in the adjustments column, Schedule K1, Line 1, ordinary business income. For adjustments due to changes in partner tax attributes, you'll use the description on the partner's return. For tracking number, if there's an adjustment from an 8986 that's related to an audited partnership, the tracking number column should be completed for that adjustment line. And if this applies, you can find the tracking number at the top of the Form 8986. If it's not at the top of the form, then you will use the audit control number at the very top of the Form 8986. So for line 1 under income, you'll enter all the adjustments individually from your Form 8986 Part 5 that affect your taxable income. This might include adjustments to ordinary income, rental income, interest, dividends, royalties, gains and losses, or other income. You should also include related amounts and adjustments that are not on Form 8986 that resulted from changes to partner level tax attributes and other items from your Form 8986. In line 2, these are the total adjustments to income. You'll add lines 1A through 1G as applicable in each column to arrive at your total adjustments to income. And then once you calculate those numbers, then they go into line 1B on the corresponding Form 8978. Under line 3 for deductions, you're going to enter all the adjustments individually from your 8986 that affect the deductions from income. So this could be Section 179 deduction. You should also include any adjustments in amounts that are not on Form 8986 that result from these changes to the partner level tax attributes. On line 4, you'll calculate the total adjustments to each deduction in each of these columns, and then you will enter that number into line 3B on the Form 8978. And then finally for credits, you're going to calculate each credit under line 5 basically in the same manner. You're going to enter all the adjustments that affect tax credits This should also include any amounts and adjustments that were not on Form 8986 that resulted from changes to partner level tax attributes on your 8986. And then on line 6, which is at the bottom of this form, just out of sight, you'll combine all of these amounts, and then you'll go back to the 8986 and you'll enter those totals from your Schedule A into line 9B. Those are the instructions on how to walk through this form. Odds are pretty likely that you'll be using a paid tax preparer to help calculate your changes to tax liability. But if you have any questions, we've written an in-depth article on our website. You can go to teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in IRS Form 8978 in the search bar, and you should see our article. Please feel free to follow us on social media. Please subscribe to either our YouTube channel or to our online newsletter through our website. And if you have any questions, please post them in the comments. Thank you.